We know what is happening in Burkina Faso. Indeed, we should be working closer with our comrades in Burkina Faso. Unfortunately, this government has created some tension between us and Burkina Faso because our president went and opened his mouth too wide. You saw the video. He went and was doing concern about your neighbor. We all are here. We are suffering. America called you small, and you are so excited, and then your neighbor, you are doing concern about him. And so it has created some diplomatic tension. He went there, went and apologized, but still, it's not the best. So when government changes, we have to go and talk to our neighbors because we must work together.
Before diving into further analysis, it's essential to carefully examine the speech in its context to understand the direction Ghana's newly elected president, John Dramani Mahama, might take in his second term. Delivered just weeks before the elections, the speech encapsulates Mahama's criticism of his predecessor and outlines his vision for the future of Ghana, especially concerning its regional alliances, economic strategy, and stance against neo-colonialism. Mahama strongly criticized outgoing President Nana Akufo-Addo for prioritizing relationships with Western nations over strengthening regional ties, especially with neighboring Burkina Faso. He accused Akufo-Addo of cozying up to the West, undermining the potential for meaningful regional collaboration to address security threats. In particular, Mahama condemned Ghana's intelligence sharing agreements with the United States and other Western allies. These arrangements focused on Burkina Faso's partnership with Russia's Wagner Group, a controversial security alliance viewed with suspicion by Western powers. Mahama's rhetoric suggests a potential pivot in Ghana's foreign policy under his leadership. He implied that his administration would prioritize strengthening ties with the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, an alliance comprising Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. This bloc has gained prominence for its anti-imperialist agenda and efforts to reduce dependency on Western powers, positioning itself as a revolutionary alternative in West Africa. Mahama's return to office brings both expectations and concerns based on his previous tenure, 2012 to 2017. During that period, Ghana experienced a significant increase in debt, with the country's debt stock rising by nearly $6 billion. This economic strain was accompanied by challenges in key industries like oil, gold, and cocoa exports, which are critical to Ghana's economy. Critics argued that Mahama's administration lacked fiscal discipline, which further compounded the nation's economic vulnerabilities. These challenges were inherited and exacerbated under Akufo-Addo's presidency. In 2022, Ghana defaulted on a substantial portion of its $30 billion external debt, becoming a stark example of the economic difficulties faced by West African nations reliant on external borrowing. As Mahama assumes office again, he faces the daunting task of addressing this economic crisis. In his campaign promises, Mahama emphasized his intention to renegotiate Ghana's debt agreements with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and seek additional loans to stabilize the economy and resume repayments. While these measures might offer short-term relief, they seem misaligned with the AES's ideological stance. The AES has been vocal in its opposition to Western financial institutions like the IMF, labeling their practices as predatory and neo-colonial. The AES advocates for economic independence and self-reliance, directly challenging the systems that perpetuate Africa's dependency on external powers. This raises a critical question. How will Mahama reconcile his plans to secure IMF assistance with the AES's revolutionary agenda? Can Ghana straddle both worlds, maintaining relationships with Western institutions while deepening ties with the AES? Mahama's critique of neo-colonialism echoes a broader sentiment across the African continent. Despite gaining formal independence, African nations often remain economically subservient to former colonial powers and international financial institutions. This dependency manifests in exploitative trade agreements, debt traps, and the extraction of Africa's vast natural resources for the benefit of external powers. Africa, including resource-rich nations like Ghana, has the potential to become one of the world's wealthiest continents. Its oil, gold, cocoa, and other commodities are in high global demand. However, systemic issues such as corruption, mismanagement, and external exploitation continue to hinder progress. Mahama's vision appears to include addressing these issues, but the extent to which his administration can break free from these entrenched systems remains to be seen. The pressing question is how Ghana will navigate these complex dynamics under Mahama's leadership. Several key considerations emerge. 1. Relations with the AES. Will Mahama embrace the AES's revolutionary anti-imperialist agenda, or will he take a more pragmatic approach, balancing AES ties with traditional partnerships with the West? 2. Tackling neo-colonialism. How aggressively will Mahama address the systemic exploitation of African nations? Will he prioritize regional cooperation and self-reliance over external borrowing and trade agreements? 3. Economic stability. Mahama faces significant economic challenges, including the need to stabilize Ghana's debt-ridden economy. His plans to renegotiate IMF loans may conflict with the AES's vision of economic sovereignty. To gain deeper insights into Mahama's vision for Ghana, let us examine a key speech he delivered upon being declared the election winner. Listening to Mahama's words will allow us to better understand his strategies and the potential course Ghana might take under his renewed leadership.
Ghana has had long-standing relations with all the agencies, and having been president before, I know the kind of work we did together. We need you more than ever before because of the crisis this country is going through. And I've had the opportunity to meet some of you, even during the campaign and before the election. And I've expressed, how I want us to work even closer together to see how we can put Ghana back on its feet. Of course, we all know that Ghana is very important in the geopolitics of West Africa and Africa in terms of upholding democracy and being a model, of peace and security. And it's something that we want to restore as quickly as possible. And so we look forward to working with you, looking at the existing programs. And we need to tweak them to meet the realities of today to do so. Happily, we've had discussions with the World Bank and the IMF already, and we look to an early engagement so that we can continue to be on the same wavelength. Of course, in the campaign, several, promises were made, and we need to look at what the reality is in terms of sitting together and seeing what the way forward is. Of course, one of our main concerns, and I think we've expressed it to you several times, is the issue of the humps in the debt repayments, and it's something we need to see how we can smooth them so that we don't default again. That would be more catastrophic than this current default. Aside from that, we know that in the last family season, the rainfall pattern was very erratic, and so we're anticipating that there's going to be some problem with availability of food, and so how we're able to kick in supports to ameliorate the situation is something that we would like to work on. With all the other agencies, UNICEF, UNHCR and all that, we are happy to continue to engage and see how we can strengthen and even uplift the cooperation and the work that we do together. I don't kid myself that it's going to be an easy task. It's going to be quite tough. And I anticipated that we're going to win, but I didn't anticipate the margin by which we're going to win. And that is an indication, like I said yesterday, that Ghanaians have a very high expectation. And so managing that expectation and trying to work as quickly as possible to meet those expectations is something that our team has to look at. We run on the campaign of resetting the nation because we've been in this democratic space since 1992. And the time has come when we must look at some of the issues to do with our governance, our economic management and all that, the fight against corruption and all that, and see how we can lift all that to another level so that we continue to maintain the confidence and faith, especially of our youthful population. A lot of them are losing faith in the whole democratic thing because they think it's not working for them. It's not creating opportunities for them. So those are all things that we need to look at. We're happy we have our first female vice president. She's not only opened the door, but she's going to keep the door open so that others can follow in her footsteps. Happily, this last parliament has passed the affirmative action law, and so we're going to abide by it. Even in the run-up to the campaign, we made a promise that we're going to reserve 30% of appointments for women.